Hello, everybody, and welcome to Factor This. I'm Angela Godwin. Joining me today, my guest is Sophia Barada. She is head of strategy with Switch. Sophia, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for
So,
the opportunity.
I wanted to chat with you because I know Switch is a recognized leader in EV charging solutions. So, I'm curious, can you share which segments of the market you mainly focus on and maybe how your approach kind of sets you apart from your competitors?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. At Switch, we were founded in 2016. Our focus is really on the multifamily side. We started trying to drive adoption in those more complex use cases. Since then, we've really expanded more to the workplace as well as general commercial real estate and to some extent to the public charging as well. What sets us apart, there's multiple layer and it really depends on ultimately the use case for the customer. But I would say what resonates the most with the customers we serve is first, just the ability to have multi-level pricing and access control, because in a lot of the environment we work on, there's multiple tenants and type of users. It could be whoever lives in the building, employees, guests, visitors, etc. And so that ability to have flexible pricing and flexible access is really important. The second piece is around energy management. It's extremely important to be able to maximize the amount of chargers within the existing infrastructure of the building. We work with a lot of retrofits, and the bill can go high quite significantly if you're not able to avoid that utility upgrade. And so our energy management system can work both at a circle level, at a panel level, at the building level. It's pretty advanced. And it allows for that reduced sort of infrastructure costs up front. And then lastly, it's our integrations. We want to make it as easy as possible for the EV drivers and for the property owners. And so we've done a lot of integrations with property owners, also with utilities to participate in demand response programs. Ultimately, it adds value for the driver, whether it's monetary or just having a better experience. And that has really resonated well with customers.
That's great. That's excellent. So, what are some of the unique challenges, would you say, that you're seeing for property owners, maybe in your target markets?
Yeah, so when I talk to property owners, the first things they try to figure out is how many chargers do I need to put in my building and how much can I put in given my existing infrastructure, because I know I have a certain limitation. The second piece that they think about is just ultimately how to put in the capital that is needed for that infrastructure, and what are the incentive programs or potential credits that I can get to offset some of that capital. And then thirdly is how to think about future-proofing my infrastructure and my investment and making it as reliable as possible, because ultimately I want to put in that infrastructure so that it's usable, it's a benefit, it's an amenity for my users. And that only works if the actual EV charging is there and reliable for my users. So I'd say those three are typically what we're most confronted with when talking to customers.
Okay, great. Excellent. So I know you recently unveiled, I believe it is the Cortex platform. Is that correct? So tell us what that is, first of all, and maybe some of the key benefits it brings to EV charging.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're very excited to have launched Cortex. It's been months of work. I'm very proud of our engineering team. It's definitely a huge leap in innovation that we've taken on, and it has multiple layers in it. It's a broad word. Ultimately, the easiest way to think about Cortex is like a brain that's really there to connect a lot of the different parts around Switch. It combines things like the intelligence of cloud-based management with on-site computing so that you're not compromising on reliability. It also allows for wireless connectivity and that simplicity of no longer having to run cables. And ultimately, doubling down on what I mentioned earlier, we're deepening our integrations. We're doing more within the property ecosystem to really allow for a more seamless experience for the end user. And that we're seeing already with some of the most recent deployments, and this is a very new technology they were very excited to bring to market. We've seen that it helps minimize a lot of the infrastructure costs at the onset. It also helps with increased reliability, which is a key topic, and there's a lot of focus in it for customers. And it automates a lot of processes for property owners. That makes just their life easier. There's automated billing, automated energy optimization. And that is all in service of the customer at the end of the day.
That's great. That's awesome. So reliability, as you mentioned, that's a big concern, obviously, for both property managers and drivers. So let's talk a little bit more about how Switch Cortex can help address that, particularly the reliability aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. Reliability is a huge topic in the EV industry and increasingly becoming the center point. The way Cortex addresses it is simply by reducing one of the most common point of failure, which is the networking connectivity. When you're thinking about a parking garage that has multiple layers underground, your internet connection may not be as reliable. And so the way we've solved for this is we are adding a microcomputer down in the garage that is able to do a lot of processing directly so that you can still go ahead with your transaction. You can still do your energy management optimization directly over there. But we're not compromising on the cloud base because we know cloud base allows for a lot of additional use cases that are key for the value of EV charging. And so we're able to have that microprocessor really do the work whenever the connection is broken. But when that connection is reestablished, really continue to leverage the cloud base to participate in demand response program, to continue to do the advanced data reporting that we do, and a lot of the use cases that we're able to unlock. And so that's really a huge shift in the way kind of like the industry has been looking at this point of reliability and avoiding trade-offs ultimately for the customer. We want them to have the best of both worlds. And we believe that this technology allows for that.
That's wonderful. That's terrific. The other big hardware addition, I believe, is your new wireless communication technology, Switch Echo, right? So I know it can reduce installation costs by a huge 70%, I believe is what I read, which is a huge number. Can you maybe talk about those savings a little bit and break them down for us?
Yeah, absolutely. 70% is real. That's the first thing I will say. Yeah. The reality is when you think about connectivity across chargers, what we've done is really leverage low range, high penetration wireless technology to be able to connect EV chargers even across multiple layers of parking and underground parking lot, for example. So now we have our communication device, Echo, which is able to send that signal, go through a number of walls. And ultimately, what the simplicity of understanding where those savings are coming from is you no longer have to run wires. So you're saving on that hardware. And you also no longer have to drill holes and push that wire through those holes, which is a huge part of where the installation cost comes from. And so really making wireless have enabled us to unlock those savings for the property owners.
That's incredible. That is absolutely amazing. So I know one of the other concerns that property teams have with the EV charging is that it's going to add a lot of work, right? I mean, so Switch Cortex tries to address that, right? It adds a lot of additional technology into the mix. So how does that lessen the burden on charger management, for those properties?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's always, when you start with a new technology, there's always a worry of what does it mean for having to adapt to that new technology and what is the learning curves that come with it. The good news is that Cortex really is going to be almost invisible for the customers in terms of doing any work to get those benefits. They will see the benefit, but not the work. And that's really the philosophy that we take at Switch is ultimately let's use technology to make everything simpler for the customer and put that customer-centric lens at the top. So everything that I talked about when it comes down to the wireless communication, when it comes down to the on-site computing, when it comes down to the optimized energy management, all of that should be fully seamless. And then we'll have on top of that additional automation related to billings and other features that will really just save time and ultimately make it simpler for the customer.
Right. And that's what technology is all about, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we want to make it easier for your customers, right? So, interestingly, this launch is coming out of kind of interesting time because there's a lot of uncertainty, around different funding programs that were supposed to help with installing EV charging. So, what is your message for property owners out there who are interested in EV charging, but, they're not sure whether now is the right time to do it?
Yeah, that's a great question, and definitely one that I've been getting a lot from customers and different stakeholders. My message is ultimately the underlying trend is there.
Mhm.
There are more EVs on the road. There are more people looking to charge, and that's really what matters, regardless of incentives. We see today that EV adoption is about 8% in the US. That is going to continue to grow. And even if that doesn't grow, by the way, we're already seeing saturation at a lot of EV charging infrastructure. So we definitely need more. On our network, we've seen an increase of about 50% of utilization over the past 12 months. And that just speaks volume in terms of the demand that's out there for EV charging. And therefore, there's a path forward to making that business case work without incentives. And I think that's really the key message here is there's a lot of benefits to this infrastructure and ways to make that business case work without needing to rely on incentives. The second layer that I'll add for customers is that we're here to help you and depending on your need and use cases. And there's always ways to find different financing models or operating models that really allow for a reduction potentially in that upfront capital to enable you to unlock that amenity and then finding the right way for recouping any sort of future cost with the right sort of financing.
Yeah, that's great. So I have one more question for you before we wrap up today. When you look out over the next several years, how do you envision EV charging technology kind of evolving?
Yeah, it's a big question. It's a great one. Um, if there's two pieces to the technology that I think we're keeping top of mind. Um, One will continue to be the integration of EV charging into the electrical grid. And what I mean by that, it's working hand in hand with the utilities, with the different load management platform, VPPs, to really make that load flexible and enable it to contribute into the demand response program, avoid that additional peak that will come from increased EV load onto the grid. And we're seeing we've done some great partnerships already with utilities across the board with several sort of VPP players such as Leap. We're also partnering with WeaveGrid and see a lot of potential in that and can only see a path forward where that continues to grow. And then the second layer, to the risk of sounding probably obvious here, but there's definitely a lot of potential with AI and software optimization. And we see that on our side with predictive maintenance and generally kind of like customer support. We're already working on deploying tools there that are really going to help us improve that service and ultimately further improve the reliability and reduce costs. And then also optimization of energy management through AI. That's also another opportunity that will be sort of a combined effort between the CPOs as well as the utilities.
That's great. It's excellent. Well, Sophia, we really appreciate your time today. I loved catching up with you and hearing about the new products. We wish you all the best of luck with those, the Cortex and Echo. Any last final thoughts for our viewers? Anything you want to leave them with before we wrap up?
I guess we've mentioned this, but I just want to reiterate that I do think there's huge potential with the EVs in general and the potential that they have to contribute into managing the loads that we have in the grid, and especially with a lot of the utilities that are here today at SWTCH. I think seeing a lot of discussions around how to manage that. I think really thinking about it as an opportunity and not something that needs to be managed is going to help. And potentially we're already seeing a lot of technologies around vehicle to home or vehicle to building that can be hugely beneficial. And so looking forward to kind of like having all that opportunity materialize.
Excellent. Well, all the best of luck to you with that.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. This has been Factor This. I'm Angela Godwin.